pointed ones are filled with ragu, and the round ones are filled with ham. I'm talking about arancini. No, about arancine. I'm not so sure about the correct name, but we can all agree on the taste. Let's start by cooking the rice. Pour the water in the saucepan. We will use the absorption technique so that the rice, once cooked, will be nice and dry and will retain all the starch, which will make it easier to make the arancini. I'll add a pinch of salt. As soon as it comes to a boil, pour in the rice. I'm using Violoni Nano rice, but Carnaroli rice would also be fine. Cook over medium-low heat, making sure to stir occasionally, because we don't want it to start to stick to the bottom of the saucepan. In 15 minutes, it'll be ready. While the rice cooks calmly, we will grate this beautiful aged caciocavallo, which we'll use to make our rice creamy. That's enough. When there is just a few minutes left till the rice is done, add the saffron. The rice is ready. It absorbed all the water we poured in, and as you can see, there is no more liquid left on the bottom of the saucepan. Turn off the heat and add the butter and our caciocavallo. You can really smell the caciocavallo. That's enough. Let's grab a baking sheet and transfer the rice into it. Spread it all over the baking sheet so it can cool evenly. Now we'll let the rice cool completely. Just a little tip. If you want, you can also leave it in the fridge for about an hour before forming the arancini. To keep the surface from drying out, cover it by pressing baking paper into the surface. Now let's work on the ragu. In a hot pan, pour in a drizzle of oil, add the chopped white onion, and let it stew slowly. If needed, add a little water. Then we can add in the ground pork. Then season it with salt and pepper. Let that brown. Now that the meat is well browned, deglaze with some red wine and let the alcohol evaporate. Then pour in the tomato puree. Give it a nice stir and let it cook for about 10 minutes. And then it's time to add in the peas. Our ragu must become nice and dry, so cook it for another 10 minutes over medium-low heat. If it needs a drop of water, go ahead and add some water. To the battle stations, we have our cooled rice and our fillings, the ragu and caciocavallo, and the second filling of mozzarella and ham. In order to prevent the rice from getting all stuck to your hands, I have prepared a bowl full of water. That way, they'll stay nice and wet. Now I'm going to take some rice, and I'll stuff it with some ragu. And the caciocavallo. This type is a little less aged than the cheese that we added to the rice. It will melt perfectly, and I'll add more rice on top and close it up. The ones that I'm filling with ragu will have the classic cone shape, while those with butter, that is those filled with cooked ham and mozzarella, I will make into the classic round shape. I will continue like this with all the others. Let's move on to the batter. Add the flour to a bowl. Pour in the water. Let's give that a nice mix, and then submerge the arancino very gently and drain off the excess batter, and then put it straight into the breadcrumbs. Get that to adhere well. This is the time to give it its final shape, so form that into a nice tip if you can. Okay? In oil heated to a temperature of 160, maximum 170 degrees, cook at most 2 arancini at a time. Slowly, okay? Let those get nice and evenly browned. It'll take around 3 or 4 minutes. The first ones are ready. Drain them on fry paper. And here they are. They smell great and they're very fragrant. And now let's taste them. They're delicious. Make them!
Ciao.
It's hot.